Hi there. I have another finger puppet for you today. We're going to make this doll right here, and we're going to be using these finger puppet bases and this dark wool yarn by Lamb's Pride. And the first thing I start by doing is taking a lot of lengths of the yarn in order to make the hair. And for this doll, I'm going to be doing two really long braids. So I'm going to be taping down, oh, yes, that was my son's test. Anyway, I'm going to be taping down some yarn to the table, and I'm using 6 strands of yarn in order to make one braid, so that each strand of the braid has 2 pieces of yarn in it. So I did speed up this part of the video. It does take a while to make the hair, and the braids are okay. Braids versus just long hair or even short hair for a male finger puppet, regardless, for me, it takes the longest time. So I am taking the little offcuts and making her some bangs, and then I am giving her a bonnet. Whenever I make braids, I always put a bonnet on the finger puppet. It just doesn't, I don't really know how to make the hair in the back look any better, so I just cover up the hair and, well, the untidy parts in the back, and fold it over with the top flap of the bonnet, and then it gives it a nice finished look. And I do use quite a bit of glue. My kids play with these a lot, and they are very much loved, and so it all needs to be quite sturdy. So I ruffled up the bangs a little bit, and then the hair is done, and I can move on to choosing some felt for the outfit. And I kind of toy around with different colors, and I finally settle on this one. And then I usually just wrap the body of the finger puppet around the felt to figure out how much to use. And once I figure that all out, then I can easily glue it down. I did round out the bottom part of her dress, and she will eventually have a bit of a cloak in the back, but the rounded edges kind of are a nice little touch. So it doesn't take long to be able to move on from one part of the task to the next, making these when you're using hot glue. You just want to be careful not to burn your fingers. I, on so many occasions, have just come with just raw fingertips by the time I'm done, because I just get in there with my fingers and I just hold it in place, and sure enough, I usually burn my fingers a little bit. I did cut slits in the top of her dress so that it fit well around her neck, and then I glued those down. And then now I have this extra bit of triangle, and I'm trying to decide what to do with it. I wasn't sure whether she was going to have a cloak or another article of clothing, and I decided to use this little bit of triangle and turn it into a little baby in a sling for this doll. So she's a mama with a little baby, and the baby is in a sling. And I just used some wool batting and just kind of twisted it up a little bit and to make the body. And now I'm using 1/4-inch round wooden balls. You can get those from Michael's or probably another craft store. And I just glue on the head right on the top, and just want to make sure it all fits well, and sure enough it does. So the next thing I need for that little baby is a little hat as well. And so I just had this little spare piece of felt there, so I used that, but it turned out that it was actually a little bit too small to cover the whole head, and so I'm gonna have to fiddle with this a little bit in order for it to cover the little baby's head, and I end up having to kind of squish that part down a little bit and kind of wrap the sling up above the head a little bit. So it took a little time just to kind of get it right. If I had used a larger piece of felt, I don't think I would have fiddled this much with it. But anyway, here I am just making sure it all fits well, and then I can glue it on to the base. Right in the back so that you can't see it. And because these dolls don't come with arms and they don't come with faces, I tend to layer on the clothes quite a bit just to make it look like the arms are tucked in underneath a cloak or another cape of some sort. And in addition to that, I find that I also leave the faces blank. I don't draw in any eyes or faces or anything like that. I just leave them up to the kids' imaginations to figure out expressions and other things. So now I have to kind of alter the way I'm going to do the cape with this doll because the baby is kind of in the way, and if I did a traditional cape that was just one big long rectangular piece, it would just cover up the baby completely and not really look that great. So I decided to kind of curve the edges a little bit and almost make it like, I don't know, little tags coming out from the edges. I'm not really sure. And that way I can tuck in the cloak up around her neck. Alright guys, that was it. Thanks for watching.